I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Late night loves the Trump documents thing. Jimmy Kimmel said, I've been trying to understand how Trump could possibly believe he had the right to take all those documents to his house. It's weird that a person who barely reads would even want documents. It's like finding out your dog collects stamps, Trevor Noah said. Even more concerning is the FBI also found dozens of classified folders that were empty, which obviously raises the question, where are the documents? Are they in other boxes? Did he lend them to Saudi Arabia? Or maybe it's more innocent. Maybe Trump keeps a bunch of folders labeled classified so he can give them to friends with photocopies of his butt inside. It's also possible the intelligence community didn't trust Trump with classified information, so they just gave him empty folders. Mass Live caught up with Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright's been on a little media tour, seeing a lot of Stephen Wright articles lately. He talked about acting, but he said, stand-up was always my main goal, but I also thought maybe someday I'd like to do some acting. And when I started getting on TV, other things started coming my way, so I started doing acting for the fun of it, really. Acting was weird at first because memorizing the lines and then trying to say them like they were real was difficult for me because I really have no acting training, but with my stand-up, I write everything, so it's much easier for me to remember the lines. It's different. All those differences were a little struggle for me at first. Stand-up is like 80 minutes. You do 80 minutes and then you're done. But acting in a movie is like a little 20-second performance, and then they cut it, you do it again. It's a whole different world. I like doing it, but it's not natural to me. Stephen talked about the current comedy scene and said, I think there's more great comedians now at one time than there's ever been before. Like, do you know Hannibal Buress? Well, yes, I do. That guy's a genius. And Bill Burr, of course, he's from another planet. And then you have people like Jim Gaffigan, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle. It's amazing. Stephen talked about how his comedy changed over the years. In the beginning, I had a lot of one-liners, but I would connect them into these little fake stories. Then when I started going on TV, I sort of forgot about connecting them. But then I started connecting them again. It wasn't a new thing. I was just going back to the way I started. And it's interesting because when people hear the jokes within a story, it's different than when it's on its own. It's still a joke, but it has a different atmosphere. He has no plans to retire. It never really entered my mind because I'm still having fun doing this. Hey, this next one is left over from Labor Day weekend. It was a tweet from Andy Kindler. He published this 9/2/22, 9:09 p.m. Eastern Time. Andy Kindler tweeted, "It's wonderful that Ricky Gervais gives lots of money to animal rights causes, but he mocks human rights. He's a free speech absolutist until someone tells him he sucks. His hobbies include bashing Muslims, judging people by their weight, and othering the trans community." Kevin Hart was on Good Morning America promoting his Hart House plant-based restaurant. I love talking about this as much as I love talking about George Lopez tacos. Kevin Hart said, "As I've gotten older," Kevin is 43, by the way. "As I've gotten older, I've thought more about how food makes me feel, as well as how I can make the world a better place, which led me to the idea of Hart House a couple years ago. With my schedule, I'm always on the road, and I realized that people need healthier, better options when it comes to fast food. As a flexitarian eater myself, I know the future of food is plant-based, and that I need to create a restaurant that delivers a delicious 100% plant-based menu. Why not insects, Kevin Hart? We could all eat bugs at the Hart House, no? Yes?" Kevin says, "Yes, it's plant-based, but it's really good. We want everyone to love it. Hart House is in the business of making people feel good. We're making the food that you know and love, but with a menu that's better for you, your wallet, and the planet." So what's his favorite? Kevin says, "I enjoy chicken from time to time, but try to avoid red meat and dairy. I try to live that lifestyle in every aspect of my life, including at home with my family. I think it's important to teach my kids that going meat-free is good for the body and good for the planet. So at our home, we love trying new plant-based products and, of course, eating Hart House." His favorite menu item is the Deluxe Hot and Crispy Chicken Sandwich, which he says has incredible flavor. Remember that Netflix special when Chelsea Handler inducted Joan Rivers into the Hall of Fame? And I thought that was kind of weird. Chelsea Handler was talking to Martha Stewart on Chelsea's podcast and said, "I didn't realize how important and integral Joan Rivers is in every female comedian's past. She was doing stand-up when women were never doing it." So once again, why did they have Chelsea induct Joan Rivers? I'm not saying I should have done it, but factually, I knew Joan Rivers better than Chelsea Handler. It was a weird choice. Chelsea told Martha, "As I was coming up, to not give credit where credit is due is something I regret and now understand more comprehensively how important it is to recognize the people who open those doors for you because someone always came before you." Vulture put out their annual comics to watch list. One of the comics to watch is Brittany Carney. Born and raised in Japan, she moved to the U.S. later in life, giving her a detached perspective on some of our culture's most specific oddities. Brittany Carney says, "People ask me often, do you know a lot about anime?" And she says, "No, I was in Japan, not the Midwest suburbs." That's really good. She has clever, well-timed jokes about topics like organic deodorant, being a mammal, and climate sustainability. In one joke, she tells a story about a preschool student of hers asking why mother frogs don't have boobs. Oh, I don't need more salary. The Wrap caught up with John Irwin. He has produced dozens of stand-up comedy specials for people like Norm Macdonald, John Mulaney, Hannah Gadsby, and Adam Sandler. And when I say people like Norm Macdonald, John Mulaney, Hannah Gadsby, and Adam Sandler, I mean actually Norm Macdonald, John Mulaney, Hannah Gadsby, and Adam Sandler. So I don't know why I said like. He talked about what goes into producing a comedy special. It's so many things, like the temperature in the room, the music that's playing when the audience is loading, and how much time the warm-up spends out on stage prior to bringing out the comic. There's a lot that goes into it to get in the right spot, and also a lot of it is understanding what the comic wants, what their vibe is. They're about to go out there and do an hour of material they've been working on. Some of these people have been working on this stuff for years, so as you can imagine, even though they've been on tour and they've done it a million times, they're always a little nervous. A lot of it is about making them feel as comfortable and safe as possible, so when they walk out there, they're ready to crush it. John Irwin talked about the new trend in comedy specials. There's always an evolution. For example, 10 years ago, you'd watch a stand-up special and there would be audience cutaways. You don't see that anymore. I'll chime in here. Thank goodness. I used to hate the quick cuts and the joke, show somebody laugh, joke about somebody with green skin, cut to the green skin person in the audience. Just, ugh. Irwin says, the audience is now always in relation to the comic. We want to make these things look like they're happening in front of our faces. Most people have stopped cutting away. I'll chime in here. Thank goodness. That was a nuance that always felt a little bit cheated. Now the way we're shooting, so many of the shots have so much of the audience in them, you still feel the audience. And from cityofirvine.org, your home for comedy news. You like comedy? You like animals? You want to help the animals? Why don't you go to the 6th annual Comedy Unleashed fundraiser? It'll be at the Irvine Improv on Tuesday, September 20th. It features comedians John Hastings, Solomon Giorgio, and more. Show starts at 7, which is good if you're old like me and you want to be home by like 10 o'clock. The $39 admission fee includes dinner and the comedy act. Nearly half the ticket fees go directly to the Irvine Animal Care Center. The Irvine Animal Care Center provides housing, care, and enrichment for homeless, neglected, abused, or unwanted animals. So that's September 20th at the Irvine Improv. If you're kind of local, help some pets out. Well, yeah, that's your comedy news for today. You can follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your shows, and see you tomorrow.